Don Quixote in Barcelona. Our personal walk. In a village of La Mancha, the name of which I have no desire to call to mind. Don Quixote passed 3 days and 3 nights with Roque, and had he passed 300 years he would have found enough to observe and wonder at in his mode of life. Roque passed his nights in some place or other apart from his men, that they might not know where he was, for the many proclamations the Viceroy of Barcelona had issued against his life kept him in fear and uneasiness, and he did not venture to trust anyone, afraid that even his own men would kill him or deliver him up to the authorities. Of a truth, a weary miserable life. The dawn made way for the sun that with a face broader than a buckler began to rise slowly above the low line of the horizon. Don Quixote and Sancho gazed all round them. They beheld the sea, a sight until then unseen by them. It struck them as exceedingly spacious and broad, much more so than the lakes of Ruidera which they had seen in La Mancha. Don Quixote, delighted beyond measure with such a lordly reception, replied to him in words no less courteous. All then proceeded to the poop, which was very handsomely decorated, and seated themselves on the bulwark benches. The boatswain passed along the gangway and piped all hands to strip, which they did in an instant. Welcome to our city, mirror, beacon, star and cynosure of all knight-errantry in its widest extent. Welcome, I say, valiant Don Quixote of La Mancha, not the false, the fictitious, the apocryphal, that these latter days have offered us in lying histories, but the true, the legitimate, the real one that Cide Hamet Ben Aingley, flower of historians, has described to us. Don Quixote took a fancy to stroll about the city quietly and on foot, for he feared that if he went on horseback the boys would follow him, so he and Sancho and 2 servants that Don Antonio gave him set out for a walk. Thus it came to pass that going along one of the streets Don Quixote lifted up his eyes and saw written in very large letters over a door, "Books printed here," at which he was vastly pleased, for until then he had never seen a printing office, and he was curious to know what it was like. He entered with all his following, and saw them drawing sheets in one place, correcting in another, setting up type here, revising there. In short, all the work that is to be seen in great printing offices. He went up to one case and asked what they were about there. The workman told him. He watched them with wonder, and passed on. He approached one man, among others, and asked him what he was doing. The workman replied, "Señor, this gentleman here," pointing to a man of prepossessing appearance and a certain gravity of look, "has translated an Italian book into our Spanish tongue, and I am setting it up in type for the press." As he left Barcelona, Don Quixote turned gaze upon the spot where he had fallen. "Here Troy was," said he, "here my ill luck, not my cowardice, robbed me of all the glory I had won, here fortune made me the victim of her caprices, here the luster of my achievements was dimmed, here, in a word, fell my happiness never to rise again."